Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about oscillating and geographical wind shifts. For oscillating wind shifts, the first thing you need to establish is you need to find where the median of the course or the bay or lake that you're sailing. The median is basically the center of this course would be right down the middle. As you can see, I've indicated the wind direction. Always when I do a lesson plan, the wind is always coming from the top of the board. So again, first thing you have to do when you hit the water is you have to find where the median wind direction is coming from. The second thing you want to do is when you hit the water, you always want to be constantly modifying your median. So that's looking for shifts, puffs, lulls. You always want to be looking out, because if you don't, then you're going to get knocked, or you're not going to be able to sail as effectively. The second things you're going to want to do is, in a situation where you have lots of wind shifting, so oscillating wind shifts, for example, you always want to be tacking in the wind shifts. You don't want to be tacking away from them per se, because they're going to, most of the time, they're going to be a stronger wind than what your regular wind is. So it's going to give you an advantage for speed and over your other people that you're racing against or sailing with. The next thing you want to do is timing. In shifty wind conditions or in oscillating wind conditions, your timing is critical. From my past experience in racing, I've sailed Hamilton Bay. It's a very shifty place to sail, and during regattas there, if you're not constantly looking out for these shifts, you're not going to be able to sail as effectively as your competitors. The next thing you want to do is, in a shifty wind situation or oscillating or geographical wind shifts, you want to stay within the boundaries of your course. So what I mean by that is, you want to stay, if you're going to sail this course, you want to be going up to the mark in as straight of a line as possible. In shifty wind conditions, if you decide to start this race and you go way out here and then try to come back, if it's shifty and the wind shifts to this direction, you're not going to be in too good of shape. You're going to be way off over here. And then you're obviously not going to be able to place as well in your race. And same with the other side. Now, the other thing is we can talk about risks and stuff like that in this situation. Maybe the shifts are going more towards the left of the side of the course, then you want to do this sort of thing. But most of the time, if you want to be an effective racer or sailor within your course that you're sailing, is you want to sail as straight of a line as possible. If you guys have taken lessons in the past, you'll hear that your instructors always want you to stay like this. This is the main thing you want to do. And the other thing is you don't want to chase these shifts. If you decide to go off and chase the shifts, you could end up in a place like way out to the side of the course, or, you're going to lose your spots because you're trying to chase them. Chasing shifts is not proper sailing. I would say that you want to stay, if you have a committee boat and a mark here and you have a windward mark, you always want to stay going in the direction of the windward mark. It gives you the most effective sailing time. And then in this instance, people ask, should we cover or should we not cover in a race situation? Well, it all depends on if you're able to. If you're more of an experienced person, then yeah, I would say go ahead, cover. But if you're starting off for, let's say, bronze, it's not one of the things that you want to be doing. It wouldn't really benefit the sailors at that point. Basically, when you have really shifty winds, let's say the winds are 15 and they're gusting up to 20, you really want to focus on boat control and making sure that you stay upright, you're flat, fast. That's all the things that you want to do to make sure that you can be an effective racer. The next thing I want to talk about is geographical wind shifts. Now, they're not as affecting as oscillating wind shifts are, to the fact that oscillating wind shifts usually stay within the confinement of your course. What I mean by that is oscillating wind shifts will only affect you in your racing course. If you're racing just for fun, it really doesn't matter. But if you're racing in this instance, oscillating wind shifts occur here. Now, as you see on my whiteboard, I've indicated two green lines. Let's imagine that this is land. So in Hamilton Bay, actually the way it's laid out is it's sort of a box sort of shape. There's actually, at the top, there's more land running across here, which makes it sort of a box. And the thing is on Hamilton, actually the land sits up very high and it comes down to the water. So what that actually looks like on the sides here, let me just clean this off. So what I mean by that is the land comes out and then it drops down to the water, it continues on, and then on the other side of the lake it looks like that. So what you want to do in this instance is if you suffer from geographical wind shifts, it's because you are too close to the land. So that would be you're sailing very close. And what happens here is the land with the trees or whatever buildings actually casts a wind shadow onto the lake. It may not be as far, but let's say it's in this area right here, then you have the rest of the stuff. And that happens on both sides. So let's go back to our course. To not suffer from geographical wind shifts, like your instructors will always say, stay close and inside the course as you can. You want to stay within here. Now when you're inside this course, the only things you have to worry about in shifty winds is oscillating wind shifts. So that brings you back to all the things I talked about previously. You want to establish your median, where the wind's coming from. You want to find, then the next thing you want to do is how can you keep on sort of learn how the shifts are happening. Once you sail in an area for a good amount of time, you'll learn that the shifts, the wind comes out of certain directions, and then it may be shifting depending on how strong it is. Again, don't chase shifts. It's not effective sailing. I got caught up in this in a race one time, and it didn't work out so well for me in the end. Let's just say that. Play the middle. What do I mean by that? Again, I'm just going to go over these points one more time. Playing the middle. You want to stay within the middle. You sort of can play around. You can figure out, where the best point attack is. You want to use sort of landmarks to figure out where your best point of sail is in the instance to make sure you can get to that point as quickly as possible. And again, don't chase wind shifts. It doesn't work. Now let's quickly go over and review geographical wind shifts. Geographical wind shifts, when you get close to land, like here, as you can see, they can play some havoc. You sort of get, not very clear air. Sailing close to the land is sort of like being covered by a competitor or another boat. It's that same sort of thing. You're not getting clear air, it's dirty air. You can't sail fast, your sails have less pressure, and therefore you're slower. So you want to stay away from the land. Hamilton. Again, Hamilton is shaped like it's a bay. It's not a lake. And it's shaped, sort of this sort of U sort of thing with the land on either side. That's just the way Hamilton is. And in certain areas, there's bigger geographical wind shifts. In other areas, there's not huge geographical wind shifts. For example, if you're sailing open water sailing, there's no geographical wind shifts that are going to affect you. What this is really called is this is a land shadow right here. Out to a certain point, there'll be a land shadow, and you can see it on the water. On windy days, you can see the ripples on the water. You have waves, but those ripples. If you look off the land, you can see that out to a certain distance, there's none, and then they start. That's where you want to stay with where those ripples start. You want to stay away from where there's flat, calm water. All right. So this is oscillating in geographical wind shifts, basically in a nutshell, but overall, it's very important to considering oscillating in geographical wind shifts when you're sailing, racing in this instance. And what really makes a difference between sailors is if you can effectively determine where the shifts are and the timing of the shifts. And as long as you can figure that out, you're going to be a very effective sailor. And in racing, that really separates the beginners from, let's say, the experts. All right, guys, thank you for listening to my lesson.